Welcome to the Private Practice with Soul podcast. My name is Dr. Brooklyn Storm and I help private practice owners align their business back with their soul's calling, with their big vision and with their soul's purpose. Unlike other private practice coaches, I've traveled the world in search of spiritual resources, spiritual tools, education and information so that you can have the transformation that your soul desires and needs so that you can up-level your business. How much fun is this? I love it so much. Guys, if you're not already a member of the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group, please check out the show notes. I would love for you to be there. In the meantime, thank you so much for pushing play today. Let's begin. Louise has requested an episode around self-belief, and so this is such a fantastic topic because as you know, without having that belief that we can do it, without believing we're right where we need to be at the right time, things can come down around us like a house of cards. And this belief in ourselves really taps into a beautiful harmonization, I think, of both the feminine and the masculine energies. And we'll go into that in a moment. But I guess the first thing to do is to really explore what self-belief is. And, it was Bandura very, very recently, in terms of psychology anyway, that really defined self-belief. He also termed it self-efficacy, and basically he explained that it's a belief in our own ability to complete tasks and to achieve goals. So pretty simple, but huge impact. Don't you agree? So, today we're going to talk about how this relates not just to us as men and women, and we're also going to be talking about how this affects us in private practice, because it's super important. If you're lacking self-belief, that's going to have a ripple effect, isn't it, to things like how you market the practice, how you engage with clients, how you manage your numbers, all of those sorts of things. And that could absolutely impact your ability to receive in the practice and the ability to manifest the outcomes that you really desire. Yes, we all really want to help people, but at the end of the day too, we have to remember we don't do this for free. We do this because it's a business, so we have to look at the money. And I know that's uncomfortable for some of us, but come on guys, we have to put our business hats on. There's a time for therapy and there's a time for business. And today it's a time for business, okay? So, I want to talk with you about, just give you a quick example from my own experience about how I struggled with self-belief and the impact that it had on my business and how I got through it, because I want you to see that no one's impervious to this. And that's really important for me to share with you, because when I was growing up in private practice, the mentors that I looked to never spoke about vulnerabilities or issues that they had. They only ever were telling people, what to do and how to do it. They were never really sharing their own experience. And I think I could have learned a lot more from listening to somebody who had lived experience, because it would have made more sense to me. So it's in the spirit of making more sense to you that I'm going to share this little story. And again, of course, I'm going to use my example of shifting from bulk billing when I was working as a psychologist. So for those of you who are not in Australia, we have a medical system implemented by the government that allows people to go and get help from a psychologist without paying out of pocket unless the psychologist chooses to charge a fee. I was somebody who was working as a psychologist and chose not to charge a fee because I had very strong beliefs based on my childhood about people's rights to be able to access treatment and support when they needed it, especially when they didn't have an income. I'm going to talk with you a little bit about what happened with me, my journey of self-belief around helping people who couldn't afford it and fees and all that sort of stuff. Okay. So, the money that I got for a session from the government was not even half of what a psychologist normally gets. At the time, it was $74 for a 50-minute session, 50 minutes or longer session. And anyway, let me go into the story, but I'll just be quick because I know many of you have heard me use the same story, but for similar things, for different things, in the past. So I had been working as a psychologist in a bulk billing medical practice, so none of the patients there ever paid a dime for anything. And I never had to market my practice. I would just have to bring I had a briefcase then, can you believe it? But I had a little briefcase and my lunch bag, and I used to just rock up at, 8 o'clock in the morning. I would leave at, 8 or 9 at night, and I would have a fully booked diary. I know it sounds like a lot, don't freak out. Often there were 14 people booked in the diary, but I didn't know this at the time. I know it now. But we would have a lot of cancellations because people just weren't valuing the service because they weren't paying for it. And because it was bulk billing clinic, you couldn't get a cancellation fee out of clients for love nor money. So you had to book a high volume of clients and you had to work long days in order to be able to make enough money to keep the practice sustainable. But anyway, I never had to work because there were like 14 doctors in this super clinic, and every day I would just come in and the medical receptionist would have filled up the day with 14 people, and I would just start seeing them, and I would see them all back to back, and there were many cancellations, and I just used to have my lunch in that time, do my PD in that time, respond to emails in that time, do a bit of admin. But I didn't need to market the practice. I didn't even know marketing was a thing. I just assumed all psychologists were doing what I was doing. I didn't know any better because I wasn't connected to any. I wasn't even on Facebook. I show my age now, aren't I? But I was just a late comer to Facebook. I wasn't on social media. I wasn't really online apart from email. I didn't even have a website, nothing. And so this continued for 18 years. And as I said, it was just my reality and it was normal to me. It wasn't until I joined Facebook, which was, I think, 2015, 2016, that I started to see that there were other psychologists out there. And I was super excited because now I wasn't alone and now I could talk with them, hear about how they were having their practices. And I was super excited to get to know everybody. So imagine my surprise when I joined one of the psychology groups. Well, it was for psychology and allied health. And I see there are people in there complaining that they have 6 appointments a day and wondering if that's excessive. And I thought, hang on, what? I'm doing 14. What are you complaining about? And then there were more and more people saying, yeah, I only do 4 a day and I only work 3 days because it's just too much. And I was like, what are you guys smoking? Like, how is this even a thing? Like, how are you keeping this practice going? And then I found out that they were all charging fees. And then I found out that they were all charging what I believed at that time because of my mindset. In my head, I was thinking, whoa, how can you be charging that much money? That's so much. They were doing it. And they were fine, and they were having these thriving private practices, and they were calling themselves fully booked, but they were only seeing 9 a week. I was seeing 14 a day by 6 days. Honestly, like it got to the point where I had to, it was hard for me to maintain a relationship. When I'll come home, I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't even want to talk to my friends. I was tired of having deeper, meaningful conversations. I didn't want to hear about depression anymore. I didn't want to hear about anxiety anymore. I just wanted to be left alone. I just wanted to Netflix, have a late dinner, go to bed, and wake up and do it all again the next day. And that was my reality, right? So it was very confrontational for me to see that there were people who were having successful private practices, financially successful private practices where they had more time than I did. They were going off to yoga. They were doing in-person PD. They were taking holidays. They were going to, different hotels on their weekends away. And they were just having these amazing lives. And I felt jealous and I felt mad and I felt peed off and I felt annoyed. And I thought, how come? And I was saying to myself, this isn't fair. Like, I'm working so hard and I'm not going to do any of that. This is so unfair. I hate my life. I went through that, not realizing I was in the to me level of consciousness because I didn't know about that stuff then. But that was absolutely me. And what I found really, really challenging was what they were doing confronted my belief that I couldn't do that. And that's why I was saying it's not fair. Because I didn't believe I was capable. I didn't believe I had the ability to be able to do what they were doing, to be able to charge a private fee, to be able to cut back my work, it just seems so far-fetched, so far removed from what I was doing that, it was super confrontational, okay? Thank goodness, I've done the work and that's no longer an issue for me now. And, when I think about it, thinking about how I didn't charge a fee for 18 years, booking 14 people a day, mostly 6 days a week, I just think, oh my gosh, how much money did I leave on the table there? Like, I don't even want to think about it. I know one of you is probably going to whip out the calculator and do the maths, but I can't even bring myself to do the maths on that because I can't even think about that. But, now this is why it's so important to me to teach, especially new practitioners, to private practice about let's get your money mindset sorted out from the beginning and let's get your self-belief sorted out from the beginning. But you're wondering, how did I do it? How did I make that big switch? Because I know some of you are in the position now of doing free things or doing 90-minute sessions for $40 and stuff, and you're where I was back then. And I know some of you are even psychologists and social workers who are bulk billing and don't charge. You are where I used to be. So I know you're curious about how did I get through it, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I did that shifted my belief in myself, okay? I decided to start learning more. So what I did was I started asking questions. I was in the groups and I started asking questions, and honestly, it was very interesting to see people's responses. So I started by asking questions like, how do you guys do this? Like, how do you charge this fee? What do you say when clients don't want to pay it? How did you overcome your obstacles? So I got curious. That was the first thing. I got really, really curious because part of me wanted to work less and have a better lifestyle and be able to take care of myself better and not burn out. So I got curious and I started asking loads and loads of questions in the groups, okay? Quick caveat there. Don't do everything that people say because everyone's going to have a different opinion, but you'll start to see general themes come through. And they're things that you can talk about with your coach or your mentor. Okay. And then what happened was I started to see, after being curious and asking lots of questions of people, I started to see that, okay, I need to take some action here. I need to do something. And I just decided one day, I'm just going to do it. And what happened was it was just serendipitous. Honestly, I got an email from somebody in one of the groups saying that she was going to be having a retreat. And I thought, hey, this sounds like exactly what I need. And the retreat was going to be interstate and it was going to be for, a few days. And it sent chills through me because although I could see from the landing page that this was absolutely everything that I needed, she was going to teach me how to get the referrals, how to market the practice, how to cut back my days, how to increase my income, how to. So that was exactly what I needed. So I kind of knew I had to do it because I knew I couldn't and I didn't want to sustain where I was anymore. I knew I wanted change. So I was highly motivated. I was ready to take action. And then when I scrolled down and I saw the investment, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I can afford this. I think at the time, it was $3,000. And I was thinking, yikes, how many people do I have to see for that money? I've still got to come up with the money. And then I knew I was going to have to fork out for accommodation, for flights, for meals, for, I was going to have to download the latest software on my laptop. I knew I was going to have to fork out for babysitting for Gabe. I knew that I was going to have to still pay my mortgage. And I knew that I wasn't going to be producing any income for the time I was away, which was nearly a week. And I had never in 18 years taken a week off, honestly, because I was so scared of losing money. So anyway, I guess what happened was I could see the value in getting the help, and that was stronger than the fear of losing. What I told myself was, and this is what I said to somebody on the phone this morning who was making some inquiries about, she wanted to know why she wasn't getting any referrals. And she said how she was posting on all these different places, and we looked at her website and stuff like that. She just doesn't know how to market the practice, basically. There are 4 stages to private practice, and she's in stage 2. And, she's kind of done things backwards. She's kind of built the practice and now trying to market it when you need to market first and then build it. But anyway, and she doesn't have, she's got no clue about how to market. So we spoke about that. And then we spoke about getting help, what that would look like. Because she's curious about, what do I do and how do I get the help? What does that look like? And all of this sort of stuff. And, really looking at, some people get stuck on the investment and they're saying, it's going to cost me this much. I can't afford it. And what I said to her was, well, hey, if I know it seems like a lot of money, but at the same time, what's it costing you to not get that help? And when you look at it that way, it kind of becomes a no-brainer that you need to do something. And then you get very good at finding ways of making things happen. If you want something, you find a way to make it happen often. Okay. But anyway, that's what happened for me also. So I was thinking, well, it's not just $3,000 to go and get this help. It's also going to be $1,500 in my flights. It's also going to be, $500 on meals. It's also going to be nearly $1,000 in babysitting for Gabe. It's also going to be however much money in lost income it was for that whole week, right? So it suddenly skyrockets to like a $10,000 investment, which is so much money that I felt I didn't have or that I was going to lose. But what got me over the line was thinking, I can't continue like this. It's not what I want. I was motivated away from pain and towards pleasure. I knew that I didn't know how to get the practice I wanted, and I knew this person could help me and did have the answers, and I trusted that she'd be able to show me exactly what to do. So with all of that, I took the plunge. I bit the bullet. I took the plunge and I did it. I went away for the time. I came back and I implemented so much stuff. I was shifted from to me consciousness to by me the minute that I made the decision to take responsibility and make that investment in myself, right? And so what happened was, because I'm in by me consciousness now, I got so much out of the getaway. I got so much out of learning all of the things that when I came back to, beautiful Frankston, when I came back, what happened then was I was on fire. And for about 3 months, I was implementing things. I created a email list, I had a marketing plan, a marketing strategy, all this sort of stuff. And I started introducing fees and I started reducing my availability, and I left the bulk billing practice and I went and found my own place, which was just a little tiny whiny little service department in the Quest building in Frankston, which is still there now. And I worked there. And then over time, I added an office and added an office and added an office. And I think at one point we had about 5 or 6 of the little offices there as the practice grew as a result from all this action that I'd taken. But what inevitably happens with being in by me consciousness is your confidence skyrockets, because all of a sudden you're seeing these huge results as a result of doing new actions that you weren't doing before. The money starts coming in, your confidence soars, you feel great, you're attracting a different demographic of client. So it feels really great to be working with them as well. You love going to work, you're feeling energized, but you get to a point where you run out of things to do, right? In terms of new actions. And so then you start to go, well, what new thing am I going to work on today? What new thing am I going to fix or correct or update today? And you start to scratch around because all of a sudden you've moved through all your action steps. Now you're thinking, well, what else is there to do? And so you hit this plateau phase. And it's in this plateau that we're kind of sitting there. And this is when, what did they say about an empty mind, or when you don't have something to focus on, that's when all the negative stuff comes. So this is when the negative stuff comes, and because you're deriving you have been deriving your confidence from action taking, and there's no action to be taken anymore, so to speak, because you've updated everything. Now you find that you're in the being space, but you're unprepared to be in the being space. And so what's happening now is we're slipping into that wounded feminine energy where we're feeling like when things don't work out, we're questioning ourselves, our worth. And we're back to that, am I good enough? And so it happened in my practice. It's going to happen probably in many of yours because it's just part of the cycle of private practice. So you've built up this self-belief because you've demonstrated that you are capable of making changes. You've demonstrated you are capable of hitting your goals, but now you've run out of goals or you haven't created new ones yet. You're kind of at an impasse because you don't know what to do, in inverted commas. You don't know what to do. So you're just kind of being. And in terms of how do you maintain or cultivate self-belief when you're no longer doing things that are building your confidence, is for me what got me through that was absolutely tuning into my inner guidance system and tuning into my higher consciousness or source or spirit or God or the verbiage that you feel really comfortable using. One of the practical things that I did was I started to buy different sets of oracle cards, not tarot, but oracle cards. And the reason that I really liked working with them was because they're positive. They're not, an oracle card's rarely negative. But the value of having an oracle card is it can shake you, it can grab you on the shoulders and shake you and get you to see things differently from a whole different angle, from a whole different perspective. And it was by doing this that I was able to really lean into my belief and strengthen my belief that I'm always right where I need to be, even when it doesn't feel like it, that I'm always supported, even when it doesn't feel like it, and that I'm always growing and transforming, even when it feels like I'm in a dark place or it feels like things aren't working out. Maybe there's, a client that you're having difficulty engaging, or maybe it's a parent of a client that's causing you grief or a bit of a headache, and you start to just think, oh my gosh, is all of this worth it? What am I doing? And stuff like that. In those times, the last thing that you really want to be thinking of is, how is this working out for me? Because sometimes you just need to sit with it and allow yourself to go through all of those feelings. But when you've done that, come through the other side, then use a reflective practice and say, okay, how was I responsible for this situation happening? And when you ask yourself questions like that, instead of using statements like, I'm no good at dealing with parents, ask yourself, how can I get better at private practice so I don't have to deal with this situation anymore? Ask yourself, how can I never do this task again? Starting to ask yourself questions like that is very expansive, because then your mind is going to go away and come up with some ideas, some solutions for you. And hey ho, here we go. You're starting to build your self-confidence again. You're starting to build that self-belief again. You're starting to build that trust. Tuning into your inner guidance. So emotions, as you've heard, have been described as energy in motion. The idea, spiritually speaking, of an emotion is that it connects us with our inner guidance and it tells us when things are lining up with where we need to be. So our inner guidance is like a little compass for our life or our day or the session or whatever it is you're thinking about. or experiencing, and it's always set to north. Okay, it's always set to north, like your own personal little compass, your own personal little north star inside your heart space is always set to north. And when you have an emotion or a feeling comes up that's not in alignment with your north, it's not also north for you, that's when things are going to feel different. That's when things are going to feel off. So if you're having a time with, getting bombarded by emails, for example, from a parent, tune in to how that's feeling. That doesn't feel good. Okay, how can we bring that back into alignment with what's true for me, with my North Star, with my north on my compass? What would that look like? How do I close that gap? What would need to happen for me to be able to close that gap? And when you ask yourself those questions, you bring yourself back into alignment. And then you realize, because you've had an experiential learning, that, hey, I'm actually okay at bringing myself back into alignment. And this is how you cultivate self-confidence in your ability to do that. Because, hey, guess what? At the end of the day, using oracle cards are amazing for when we feel stuck. Using an affirmation that you write yourself is amazing to help you get that momentum going. But you need to be embodying the actions and the questions required in order for you to stay in alignment. That's how you cultivate your self-belief. And guess what? When you have that self-belief, you become fearless. You become fearless in the most beautiful way. It's like nothing can really bother you, because you trust, that anything that happens is happening for you, not to you. Okay. And when you want to move out of that buy me stage, when you're ready to move out of that plateau, and you realize, maybe now I could start to do things that connect me with my higher self or that inner guidance, that's when you're going to move into that through me stage. And that's when you'll do perhaps something like what I did, which was, for me, it was getting oracle cards. I love using them as prompts. I love the expansion that comes with them. I don't use them for fortune telling, obviously. I'm talking about using them academically. I love being inspired by them. I love journaling. I love asking myself better questions and coming up with better answers. I love asking, what would my future self do in this situation? What would my higher self recommend right now? I love doing a meditation and connecting with source and allowing myself to receive guidance that comes through. But not only that, allowing myself then to create an action step from it and implement it, and then get that amazing outcome. And this is how I continue to cultivate self-belief, because guess what? Energy isn't happening in a straight line. It doesn't have a beginning and an end. It's in a constant state of flux, and therefore the energy in your practice is going to be in a constant state of flux. So understand that things, while they might look on the outside to be quite stable and tracking quite nicely, it might just be that they're stable for the moment, but something's going to happen. A staff member will leave. Someone will go on maternity leave. Someone will, be working from home. Someone, your clients, you might get an influx of clients. You might have a drop in client attendance. There's always going to be this energy happening. And so by anchoring into practices that cultivate belief in your ability to meet your goals, you are going to be able to thrive and flourish no matter where your practice is at, and no matter which of the 4 stages your private practice is at. I know, how cool is this? Other things that you can do to cultivate self-belief, of course, is so when I'm teaching women how to manifest, for example, we keep an evidence tracker. And then, when they have, the wheels get a little bit wobbly and they start to doubt whether or not they're good at it and it's working, they can look back at their evidence tracker and go, oh yeah, I do know how to manifest intentionally, and I do know how to cultivate those results for myself. Okay, what's really going on here for me? And then they can sort of step back and do some of that other reflective practice. So self-belief is you finding a way that works for you, that provides you with that assurance that you're exactly where you need to be right now, that you're always learning, that you're always expanding, that you know how to transmute energy, okay, which you do, and you can listen to the other podcasts if you've forgotten, but you do know how to transmute energy. You understand how to bring things, you understand now how to recognize when things are out of alignment in your practice and what you need to do to bring them back into alignment, okay? And when you do all of these things, here's the big thing. When you can do all of these things and you cultivate that self-belief, guess what? You're not going to be asking the questions in the Facebook groups about whether somebody else thinks your website is all right or whether somebody else thinks you're doing the right thing the right way, because you believe in yourself. You don't need to be validated by anyone else, not your coach, not your mentor, not your supervisor, not your peers, not your clients. You just know that your perfect for you clients are out there. You're already connected to your perfect for you clients. You understand your self-belief is going to fluctuate, and you understand that you've got processes in place that support you in supporting yourself. Okay? And that's what I mean when I say you become independent, you become fearless in the purest sense of the word. There is absolutely no fear there, because you know 100% without a doubt that you're right where you need to be. Okay? And you are. And if it helps, maybe you want to jump into Canva and make yourself a pretty quote or a beautiful looking quote that you can print out and stick on the wall or stick in your diary that says, I'm exactly where I need to be right now. Okay? Because anything else is coming from ego and fear mindset. That's not you being spiritual in your spiritual private practice if you don't act on it. If you have that experience of fear and doubt and you don't act on it, you're not engaging your spiritual practices. But you all love private practice with soul, okay? So do the next step and drop down into your soul. Connect with source, spirit, God, higher consciousness, self, whatever energy it is that you connect with. Receive the guidance, take action from it. This is how you cultivate self-belief for yourself, not only in your private practice, but this will spill over into other areas of your life as well. And it's so powerful and it's so much fun, and you get to do it and you can do it. And when you do this, you realize that you are limitless. And with that awareness of being limitless, everything suddenly becomes possible. Everything suddenly becomes doable. And guess what? You start to receive more and more and more and more and more abundance in your practice. Okay? No, do you love it so much? I do. I love it so much. Okay, so what's next? Well, what's next is very exciting. I haven't given it a name yet, but I have something for people who are in stage 1 and stage 2 of private practice. I was going to advertise it on Black Friday, but I'm not sure if I'm going to finish it by then, and I'm not going to put myself under any pressure to finish it by then. But what I will do is I will make it available to the first 10 people for a discount or something like that, or for a beta program or something like that, and you guys can have it for half off. But I've got that coming out, and that is a set of 12 individual little trainings and teachings on 12 different areas of private practice. As I said, they're really great for people who are in stage 1 or stage 2 of their business. So stage 1 is when you're dreaming about your private practice, you're maybe still studying and you're just thinking about, next year when I graduate, I'm going to start my private practice. Or maybe you're already working, but it's an idea, it's a niggle in the back of your mind, and the niggle's getting a little bit louder and stronger. So it's for you, and it's also for people who are in stage 2, which is the launch stage, and things haven't established yet. You're in the process of manifesting your private practice. Okay, so this is beautiful for you guys. It could also be used for stage 3 private practices. But yeah, if you want more information about it, just let me know. I'll drop my email in the comments. There's also 2 more videos up this week on the YouTube channel. And yeah, if there's anything you ever need help with, don't hesitate to reach out, okay? Love you so, so much. Have a beautiful day, ladies and gentlemen, and I will talk with you soon. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast today. If you're looking for clarity, if you need help with branding, your processes, and bringing everything into alignment with your soul's purpose for your private practice, head to the show notes and click the link for more information about the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group. You are going to love it. I can't wait to see you in there. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.